Start this. Yeah. Hello, everyone. We have Dhruv Bhatia, who's a fund manager at Edelweiss Mutual Fund, and he manages consumption fund and small cap, and co-fund manager for Edelweiss mid cap as well. So, welcome, Dhruv.
Thank you.
So, today's agenda is purely from what has happened last night. So, over to you. Let's start with a very simple thing. What has happened last night?
Sure. So the first thing, I mean, the positive step that has happened is that India and the US, the tariff was 50%. 25% of that tariff was a penal tariff, and the other 25% was a reciprocal tariff. So, like any other country, there was a reciprocal tariff that if because I'm not importing enough from US and exporting too much to the US, so they were putting a tariff on us. That was a 25% number, and because there was a penal tariff of 25% for the crude that we were importing from Russia. Last night, what has happened is there was a call between the Prime Minister of India and the President of the US. What they've concluded is that we will stop buying the Russian crude, for which that 25% of penal tariff goes away, and the reciprocal tariff, which was 25%, is going to be reduced to 18%. Right, and it's so that is where the difference is. From a 50% tariff number, we are now down to an 18% number, which puts us in a much better position to many other emerging markets and similar to where the developed markets are. So that's what has really happened. Now, if you take even a bigger number, so in FY25, India was exporting about $90 billion of goods from India to the US, and we were importing about 45-50 billion dollars of goods from the US. Now that's where there is going to be the finer details are not yet out on what all will get imported from US at zero duty is what they've called out, and what all we will do to enhance our exports, because US contributes to about 20% of our total exports. So we do about $500 billion of exports. Of that, about 90 odd billion is coming from US, and that's a large number, and it's a large market to cater to. So this becomes obviously a positive step, and it's at this moment a P expansion, sentimentally a good part. As the nuances and more details come, we will see the reflection in terms of how earnings will play out because of this change that we see last night.
So, considering what happened today in the market after last night reaction, but what is the expectation of market reactions over this tariffs over a period, I would say, longer for a 2 or 3 years horizon? So, do we see any
Yeah.
manufacturing or any particular industry getting scaled up because of this tariffs?
I think three, four things are going to happen. Firstly, the reaction from this was that the currency has started again, the rupee has started appreciating, which is what, that was a concern for every investor. So at least the depreciation of the rupee has halted. So the appreciation to some extent has started. That is a, first important thing. The yields, the 10-year yields, which were again inching up, have also, to some extent moderated. Third thing, if you see, is that from the sectors which get participated in this exports are goods which are like gems and jewelry, textiles. These are larger sectors who are there, and these are spaces which require a lot of employment. Right, for textile manufacturing, it requires a lot of employment creation. For gems and jewelry, because you can't use too many machines to manufacture any of these products, you require a lot of employee generation. So again, and the EU trade with India again was a lot dependent on textile, gems and jewelry and all of it. So what it does from a 2-3 year perspective is India is obviously a young populating country with median age of 30, and employment generation becomes a critical part for any economy when you are young in terms of age point. Now, in this case, you are focusing on areas which will create much more better employment, much more better growth from both exports. So you have better current account deficit, in terms of you're reducing your current account deficit. So all in all, from a 2-3 year perspective, it drives two, three things. It stabilizes your currency, it stabilizes your bond yields, it provides you more forex, exchange income. It gives you an opportunity to generate good amount of employment, and it helps you become big in terms of size and scale. So we are no longer going to be just domestic oriented in terms of size and scale, but we will be manufacturing for the world. And that becomes quite critical both from growth point, from employment generation, and you know how the cycle works. When you are able to do employment generation, it drives consumption, the consumption drives savings, the saving drives, you know, that entire cycle starts, and it's a vicious cycle, and that's what will drive that GDP and growth for the country.
Okay. Uh, okay. My next question is not directly related to tariffs, uh, but it's a trend, and people follow the trend. So my next question is on gold and silver. So I'll phrase this in two questions. One, people are running out for gold and silver. Is it a time to buy, or is it a time where you need to shift asset allocation? My first question is that. And second question to you is, since you are managing small cap, silver, yeah, small cap.
So, see, the first question, I think had become and is probably still is trade which is a trade which everyone wants to chase. You know, there's a fear of missing out on, you know, what your neighbor has probably made in terms of returns. So I am of the view that, you know, the pain probably may not be over, and the volatility will continue to remain very, very vicious. So if you have the appetite to bear the pain in terms of, you know, the high volatility and maybe a, you know, a good amount of drawdown, then, you know, then it's a good trade for you. Otherwise, you know, we'll be still saying that a large part of that trade is largely done with, and hence equity over the next 3 years looks more exciting. And to your question, whether small cap over, you know, the commodity, whether silver or gold, we still think that, you know, the large part of that trade is over, and hence we still think from a valuation perspective, from a growth perspective, we are much more positive on equity, and within that, obviously, small cap, as you asked specifically. So I think, you know, that is where we think that the excitement will lie, because we have not seen small cap do anything for the last 2 years. So it gives you that excitement to start, you know, seeing things as growth also starts to recover.
Okay. Dhruv, one last question to you. It's been almost a year exactly when the Trump entered last January 2025. And there have been a news in the industry that the tariff will play an important role. And since we have the final, figures coming out last night, so do you think that it a good time to enter into equity right now? Maybe my question to you is to enter it fully or in a staggered way.
So we are still suggesting that to invest in a staggered way. As I said in the start, this is a sentimental booster. The final details are yet to be out. When it means sentimental booster, there are two parts of returns. One is multiple expansion and one is earnings growth. This is a multiple expansion element, you know, part of the story. The earnings growth is still to be worked out depending on what the final details are. So I think that hence we think it makes sense to stagger your investments at where we are. And you know, that is why we are saying 3 months of SIP is a good time. By then we'll get better visibility on earnings growth for the basic market, along with, you know, these sentimental boosters with both from the US and EU FTA trade. So as we get more clarity, more visibility, the confidence also of the market will become better, and hence we think that that's the way to structure your allocations currently. And if you also see that, that is why also we just are in the midst of our financial services NA4 as well, right? So that again is
Okay.
a part which we think that, you know, why would we otherwise, you know, think to do something like that, is because again your risk reward in many of these cases are become quite favorable. Earning growth visibility is again inching up, and that's what makes us more excited about, you know, the markets for the next couple of years, or probably more, maybe about a decade also.
Okay. That's it from my side, Dhruv. That was really an insight. Thanks a lot and wish you all the best for the upcoming NFO.
Thank you so much for this.
Thank you. Bye, Dhruv.